I'm Mrs. V, and this is a podcast where I'm going to share with you stories and poems that will help you to know, love, and serve God in this world. Then one day, we shall all meet with Jesus, Our Lady, and all the saints to live forever in heaven. So I'd like to welcome you to Cheerful Chats for Catholic Children. Knitting a Sweater for Little Jesus, from the Catholic Hearth. It was during Advent, the 4 weeks of solemn preparation for the most beautiful feast of the year, Christmas. All over the world, Holy Church was longing for the coming of the Savior and giving expression to that longing in her sublime liturgy. But I am going to speak today of only 2 of the devout children of Mother Church. I know, of course, that many others were doing good during that sacred season of expectation, but I do not know just what form their goodness was taking. I only know about Harry and Rosie. Harry was Rosie's brother, and she wouldn't have exchanged him for anything in the world. Advent was just beginning, and I noticed that Harry and Rosie were a little different from what they used to be. Their morning prayers were a little longer, and so were their evening prayers. They did not talk as much as they used to. Instead of shouting and laughing and playing during all of their free time, they would often slip away into some quiet, cozy corner. And once, when I peeped into 2 such cozy corners, I saw Harry reading a fine book of Bible stories, and Rosie all engrossed in a Catholic magazine. I was puzzled. So one day when I went over to the school, I told Sister about it and asked her what these 2 were up to. "Why, Father, I really do not know," she replied. "They are so mysterious about it. They are just perfect children at school now, and every day, morning, noon, and night, and sometimes at recess, they make private visits to the church and pray most devoutly before the Blessed Sacrament. Once when I entered the church very quietly, I heard Rosie say the Our Father aloud, very piously. She thought she was all alone with Jesus. It seems to me, Father, that these 2 have some little plan or something." "Leave it to me, Sister. I will find out," I said. So that very day I got a chance to be alone with Harry and Rosie. I had a little visit with them, during which they were bright and talkative, but delightfully respectful and reserved at the same time. When I arose to go, I said, "Sister and I have both noticed that you are doing something special for somebody during Advent. Tell me, what is it, my dears?" You should have seen them blush. Finally, Rosie said, "Well, Father, I'll tell you. We're knitting a sweater for little Jesus." "Oh, I see," I replied, so surprised that I didn't know what else to say. But honestly, I did not see at all. I told Sister about it. She simply said, "I wonder." Neither of us had ever seen them knitting a single stitch. It was Christmas Eve. Harry and Rosie rang the bell at the sister's house and asked to see their dear teacher. In a moment she came, tired from the day's work of preparation for the great feast that was to begin with midnight mass, but happy and already full of Christmas peace and joy. Harry did the speaking. "Sister," he said, "we just finished knitting a sweater for little Jesus. Please, Sister, put it right near the cradle of straw in the crib so that Mother Mary can find it easily and put it on him to keep him warm." Then, with a polite goodbye, they skipped away, leaving an envelope in Sister's hand. She opened it. Neatly written on a folded sheet of paper were the words, "Dearest Christ child, here is something that will keep your heart warm with love for us. 800 Our Fathers, and each word of that beautiful prayer you yourself taught us, a well-made stitch in the warm garment we want you to have on Christmas Day. Your loving Harry and Rosie Nearling." It was Christmas morning. Harry and Rosie were chatting with Sister. "Oh, it was easy," Rosie was saying. "Each of us said 10 Our Fathers every day, 2 in the morning at our morning prayers, 2 in the evening at our evening prayers, and the rest during special little visits to the Blessed Sacrament." "Sure, it was easy," said Harry, And sister, it is impossible to tell how very, very happy I am today because I helped Rosie knit a sweater for little Jesus." Then everybody smiled, such a Christmas smile as you never saw before. The Shoemaker. You all know what a shoemaker is. Well, he's a man who makes shoes. Peter Lotto was a shoemaker. One day Peter took some leather and made a pair of beautiful baby shoes. They were the finest shoes Peter Lotto ever made. When the baby shoes were all finished, Peter wrapped them in tissue paper, put them in a box, and put the box away up on the top shelf in his shop. Some day, Peter thought, some rich lady will come and buy my pair of pretty baby shoes. Peter forgot all about the shoes as the days went by. The day before Christmas came, and that night Peter went to confession. He planned to receive Jesus on Christmas morning. He came home, said his prayers, and went to sleep. While asleep, Peter had a dream. In the dream, Jesus came to him, and Jesus told Peter that the next day he would walk down his street, and that if Peter would ask him in, he would come into his shop. Then Jesus went away. In the morning, when Peter woke up, the first thing he thought about was his dream. He went to Mass, received communion, and hurried back to clean up his shop, because Jesus was coming to see him. It was an awful cold day. It was snowing hard, and there were not many people on the street. Peter sat near the window watching and waiting. Peter had seen pictures of Jesus on the windows in church. He had pictures of Jesus in his prayer book and on his bedroom walls. Peter would surely know Jesus when he came near his shop. An old man came along. His coat was all shabby and torn. He had no rubbers, and Peter called him in to get warm. After they had talked a little while, the poor old man went on his way. But Peter went back to his place at the window to watch for Jesus. He sat and watched all day, but Jesus never came. Finally, darkness began to grow. Night was coming. Peter was feeling sad. Maybe he had missed Jesus. Soon a lady came down the street. The lady was a very pretty lady, and also a very poor lady. She had a shawl over her head, and she seemed to be carrying a bundle. She looked cold and hungry, so Peter called the lady in to get warm. And was that lady happy? She wasn't carrying a bundle. She was carrying a little baby, and the little baby looked so cold. Peter made the lady with the baby sit near the fire, and the lady said that she was hungry. Peter set the table and brought out some food for the lady to eat. Peter said that he'd hold the baby while the lady ate her supper. So Peter took the baby up in his arms. As he held the baby, Peter noticed that the little baby had no shoes, and his little feet were very cold. And just then, Peter happened to think of his little pair of shoes away up on the top shelf. Giving the baby to the lady, Peter climbed up and brought down the shoes. And what do you think? The shoes were a perfect fit. They just fit the baby's little feet. And Peter told the lady that she could have the shoes for nothing. The lady was so happy. She thanked Peter for being so kind. She thanked him a lot for the shoes and for the supper, and off she went out into the cold. Now, when the pretty lady and her pretty baby had left, Peter went back to his place at the window to watch for Jesus. Well, Peter waited and watched for Jesus until 11 o'clock at night, but Jesus never came. So Peter went to bed, and once again, Jesus appeared to Peter while he slept. When Peter saw Jesus, he told Jesus how he had waited for him all day and that he had never came. Then Jesus smiled a big smile. "Why, Peter," Jesus said, "I was in your shop today, and you were so kind to me. That lady who carried the baby was my mother Mary, and I was the little baby to whom you gave those shoes. You were so good to me that I came back to thank you." And when Peter realized what had happened, he was so happy that he woke up from his dream, and Jesus was gone. Isn't that a dandy story? I think it's a peach. Whenever you are good to someone, it's just the same as being good to Jesus. When you give another boy some of your candy, it's just like giving some of your candy to Jesus. When you help a poor old lady across the street, it's just as though you were helping Jesus across the street. When you run errands for someone who is sick, it's just like running errands for Jesus. We have so many chances to be kind to people. And the best part of it is that we don't have to be rich in order to be kind. Sometimes kindness means only a little favor that doesn't cost us anything. Do you know that Jesus once said that he will pay you well if you give some person only a cup of cold water? A cup of cold water doesn't cost anything, does it? And yet, God will pay us if we are good to the poor. Do not wait, boys and girls, until you grow up to be kind. You can be kind to the little boys and girls in your room at school. You can be kind to your mother and father. Nobody likes a stingy person or a selfish person, and Jesus doesn't like it either. Be kind to the poor, the sick, and all people who are old. You've got lots of chances to be kind. And remember, when you're kind to somebody, you're being kind to Jesus Christ. The smallest gift. True stories are always the best stories. So I'm going to tell you a true story. Now, I can't tell you the real name of the girl in the story, so we are going to call her Helen Lane. It was 2 weeks before Christmas, and, like other little girls, 9-year-old Helen was thinking about Christmas. She wondered what she would buy her mother for Christmas. Helen had saved her pennies for some time, and altogether she had 20 cents. What could she buy for 20 cents? The little girl wanted to buy something very nice for her mother because she knew that her mother deserved something extra special. Helen thought, and she wondered. Then she went to her aunt and asked her aunt to help. Sure enough, the aunt was only too willing to help. In fact, the aunt promised to take Helen shopping the very next day. They would look at all the beautiful things in the stores, and then Helen could buy her present. The next day, Helen and her aunt went shopping. Oh, they saw many beautiful presents in the stores, but the presents all cost too much. After all, Helen only had 20 cents to spend for her presents, and you know you can't buy very much for 20 cents. After lunch, Helen and her aunt went into the dime store, and there Helen found something that she knew would please her mother. A beautiful necklace. A necklace that shone like diamonds. A grand necklace that cost 20 cents. Yes, Helen bought the necklace, and she was very happy. Now she knew that her mother would have a grand Christmas. Helen could hardly wait for Christmas to come. Well, Christmas did come, and there was great excitement in the Lane home on Christmas morning. After Mass, Helen and her family had breakfast, and then all of the family gave their presents to one another. There were all kinds of boxes to be opened, all kinds of packages for everyone. But Helen kept her present for her mother until last. When all the packages were opened, Helen gave her mother her little gift. Mrs. Lane smiled as she started to unwrap the small package. When she opened the box, it was a little while before she could speak. Inside the box was a necklace of glass beads that shone like diamonds. The price tag was still on the necklace, and it read, 20 cents. Helen's mother received some grand gifts that Christmas morning, but her best gift was her smallest gift. Her best gift was a necklace of glass beads that shone like diamonds, a necklace that told the mother that her little girl loved her. Children, the Blessed Virgin is your mother. When Jesus hung on the cross, didn't he give Mary to the world to be everyone's mother? He certainly did. And Mary has been a very good mother to you. Isn't it true that any time you ever wanted anything, you went to Mary and she got it for you? Every time you went to Mary, she was right on the job to help you. Mary always helps her children. Now, a 20-cent necklace isn't very much, but it pleased a little girl's mother. Wouldn't you like to give something to Mary, your mother? You can give Mary something better than a necklace of glass beads. You can give her a Hail Mary now and then. You can give her many Hail Marys each day. That's the way to prove that you love Mary. It doesn't take much time to say a Hail Mary. It takes less than half a minute. And think of all the minutes you have each day. You could give many of those minutes to Mary. Why not start today and see how many Hail Marys you can give to Mary? Then do the same thing tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and every single day. Make every day a Hail Mary day, a day filled with Hail Marys. That's the way to show Mary that you love her and are thinking about her. That's the way to show Mary that you want her to think about you. The Blessed Virgin is a good one to keep on your side because Mary is very close to Jesus, and Mary has great power in heaven. Mary is your mother, and every good mother you know takes good care of her children. Mary will take good care of you if you will pray to her often. Stay close to Mary, children, and you won't get very far away from God. Thank you for tuning in today to Cheerful Chats for Catholic Children. I hope you will work very hard at being the best Catholic boy and girl that you can be today. Ask Our Lady and your guardian angel to help you. Indeed, they will. God bless you from Mrs. V.